Okay guys, we are about to get a new Christmas gift I purchased for myself. It's a new car. In the meantime, while we're waiting to pick the new car, so again, we decided to shoot some content. So I'm gonna pick up this brand new 2019 911. And it got me thinking. The first book that my dad handed me to read when I'm out of school is Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I think many of you have already read the book, right? If you haven't, and it's a really good old classic book, which probably is the first guy to challenge the status quo in regards to this financial education. In the Rich Dad and Poor Dad, it talks about this concept of three types of spending. One is called a necessity, means your utility, rents, transportation costs, whatsoever. Another one is investment, means you invest in your money into the shares, stocks, real estate, and so on and so forth. The third type, where Robert Kiyosaki is actually against with, are the discretional spending on something called a doodads. It could be a new plastic TV, a new car, it could be a holiday, or come to the point of luxury cars, etc. Okay, so I was taught when I was young to defer my gratification is always to rolling the money into investment first, and then to leave off the proceeds come from the investment, such as cash flow, means the rent from the real estate, dividend from the stock. And as these cash flows give us the ability to really live up our life to our term, right? So, and the last week I got into a dinner with my friend, and ironically, he also are thinking about buying a new toy. And he's thinking about to go with this classic car finance scenario. So his is a good mortgage broker, and then he earns a decent income, like $400,000, $500,000 a year. So it's pretty decent income as a mortgage broker. So again, he want to upgrade his car. I think he want to get Aston Martin Vintage, which is about $335,000 to $350,000, right? Which is not cheap anyway. So we got into a little discussion in regards to what is the right procedure if you want to get some, what I call, or what Robert called, the doodads in your life, or these luxury items. Ironically, everyone knows that the cars or other things like bags or boats is all depreciating value, right? Everyone knows that. It means that if you put $1 in 5 years, it's probably worth 20 cents or 10 cents if you're lucky, okay? But that doesn't really necessarily mean that, you can't buy those luxury items. So if you have a very decent financial year, all right, the question is, should you invest, if you want to buy luxury items, should you just buy it outright, or should you finance it? Or better still, you can create something called a luxury item project, like me. A year ago, I decided I want a Porsche 911, right? The new one, the new model come out. It's pretty sexy, it's pretty classic. I also want the car. So I just set a little objective I call Project Porsche. And here's how I did it. And I want to show you how I did it. Let's say as a business owner, assuming you have the cash to buy a luxury item. So this 911 cost me $320,000, something like that, right? There's a different options to do. A lot of people will just pay cash. Okay? The issue with the cash is that little thing is depreciating in value. So year on year, the value is just continued drop, right? So it's not the best use of capital. Now, obviously, if you have $1 million, $2 or $3 million in your bank account, a lot of people don't really care. But again, I don't think it's the best use of the capital. Another form which is more common to use is deposit plus finance. So people might put the car on a finance for let's say 200,000, right? With an interest of 3% on a P&I over the course of 5 years, and then you put a little deposit for $120,000. So put $120,000 in, and then you might be paying, I don't know, I just made it up, right? $3,000 a month for the interest rates, right? So that way, it doesn't really churn up all of your capital. You put it on finance. So, but again, still doesn't solve the problems. Either way, you're gonna pay $320,000 out of your own pocket, either immediately, right, or over the course of 5 years. And people who put on a car loan have this argument says that, you know, because of inflation, so that way you get you to amortize your loan, and then you really bank on inflations, right? The way I'm doing it, I recommend a lot of people want to do it. It doesn't really matter. So it depends on income level. So if you really, as a husband, you want to buy a luxury bag for your wife, for example, the bag might cost you $5,000 or $20,000, depends on which brand you go for. You can either save the money, pay for it, all right, or you can invest in that money and use the proceeds of the investment to pay for the financing costs of the luxury items. All right. Here's how the project Porsche works. So let's say here's a car, right? That's the Porsche I want. Okay. Assuming in order to fully finance the bloody thing, I need to create a cash flow of about $3,000 a month. Very simple. That way, if I put it 100% on finance, I'm okay with it, right? Then the issue is who to pay for these financing costs. The answer is an asset that I'm holding, all right, that which generate a passive income. To pay for this bad debt. Make sense? And instead of thinking, I'm going to spend $320,000, why not start thinking about how do I better capitalize on my principal to investing into an income producing asset, and I use the proceeds, the cash flow from income producing asset to pay for the cost of a car. All right. So, and that way, you don't spend $320,000, right, just on a car. You also spend $320,000 or something like that to own both an asset that has went up in value and a car which is gradually depreciated in value, but the asset generates the passive income to pay down the debt of the car. So in 5 years, if you're holding a property that is worth $800,000, in 5 years, assuming it went up to $1 million, the car is probably worth, instead of $320,000, it's probably worth $150,000. All right. Did you see how that thing plays out? Is the cars, these assets is paying for the car, right? So essentially, the cash flow is paying for the depreciation asset. It doesn't affect your lifestyle, but the true holding of assets went up in value. That's what I want to say. Is Project Porsche works, and I will show you how Project Porsche works. What I did in a minute. So here's what I did. All right. So the first thing I want to tackle for any luxury item is the monthly holding cost. It could be the same thing as you own your own home, right? It could be, let's say, to finance a home for 30 years, it might cost you $5,000 a month. And then all you have to do is just set up a project that will generate $5,000 month in, month out to pay for the bad debt, which is linked with your own home, right? Which is, again, people argue the home is not an investment. If it's Robert Kiyosaki's view, isn't that? Okay, so here's how the Project Porsche works. My strategy is very simple. I did a deal, right? The deal is like this. I work with a joint venture partner, okay? It's a joint venture deal, and we did about 10 villa developments or townhouse developments, okay? It's a mixture of double story, single story. So we call it 10 villas, all right? And in that little deal, it's very simple. The joint venture partner tipping $975,000, okay? And my partner is here, I'm here. We've got a partition agreement whereby it's the same development, but we'll partition it into two. It means I'm owning half of the development site, he's owning half of the development site, because naturally he's tipping the initial capital. which has allowed me to trigger the funding of construction. I manage the whole thing. Okay? Among that little 5 townhouses, I sold 2. Among that 5 townhouses, he sold 4. So he's banking, so he put 975,000 right in, he get 975,000 out, he got a property that was 750. Alright? I put nothing in, I got 2 properties that's probably worth around 1.6 to 1.7 million. Alright? With an LVR, if you heard, it's a loan to value ratio, means for bank financing about 20%. Follow me so far? It's about 20%. That little thing is generating positive cash flow. Yeah, positive cash flow. And what I did is using the positive cash flow of these 2 properties to pay for the car. Now, did I go for a car loan? Absolutely not. Why don't I go for a car loan? Because car loan is a short-term loan. Means if I'm going to pay off $320,000, yes, it is 3% interest, but it's over 5 years. Means monthly payment is actually much higher. Makes sense? So, but if I put a shifting the loan as a part of mortgagee on my home or the investment property, did I just create a little amortization over 30 years? Did I significantly dropping down the monthly interest cost of the car? Not only mention that, it is positive cash flow by itself. So if it's positive cash flow, what it does is I have something called offset account, right? It's an offset account. Not only I'll be servicing the debt of the car, but also because now the monthly cost is much lower than $3,000. Make sense? Because I'm optimized over the last 30 years. And also, I will be able to deposit enough surplus of cash per month to put into this thing called offset, which further offset the next month of interest. Make sense so far? In about 7 to 8 years of time, the car will be paid off. And my asset, this 1.6 million asset, going to be fast approaching 2.5 to 2.6. I've got the best of both worlds. I can enjoy owning a little luxury items that I always want to have. Also, it's not jeopardize my investment operation. So I hope you like this concept about the project Porsche. You know, hopefully you can create your own little projects whenever you think about buying the next luxury item. It could be a gift for your friends, a gift for your wife. Plan things out. Create a side venture. There's different ways. You don't have to work or structure deal like I do. You know, for many of you don't have a money partner, you can start utilizing your knowledge to do maybe if you're project management, can you take a job for managing a project for people? Like if your wife if you want to get a luxury back for your wife, assuming it's Hermes, it's cost you $20,000, can you do a little project management, bank another $30,000 along the side? You know, pay some tax, put $20,000 and surprise your wife. You can do so like that. Whenever it is, don't use your hard-earned cash. Rather, start structuring luxury item, create a layer, isolate each with the project, use the proceeds of investment to pay off the luxury items that you want in your life. Okay, so anyway, we're running late. We're gonna go to pick up a car soon, and once I'm done that, we're gonna come back and I will dive into the second thing I will discuss today. It is about, because I think a lot of people who watch this might think, well, it's good for you. You can create a project like that. It's good for you to have $320,000 sit like that. But what if we don't have any money, right? What if we're still on a job? What if we're just start my business? Or what if I just bank the deal, just have $1 million, and I want to continue rolling that capital into future projects? Okay, what should I do? Should I defer my gratification, or should I do something else? Okay, so. And I will come back to the office and I will show you a little mechanism and show you why, irrespective where you are now in life, wealth is a state of mind. It's a style of living. It's a lifestyle. It's nothing to do with the money in the account, but it's something to do with how you manage your money. So I will show you something that how I was taught to manage money. And all right, but let's roll, and I'll get the car and I'll come back. Talk to you soon. back to the office. Okay, so now we're going to shoot in the second half of the content. It's about a tale of these three stick figures, three people. That dude A, called that dude, right? Called A, B, C. That dude A has got 50 grand in the bank account. Could be on a wage, or could be a startup, just starting a business, or self-employed, whatever it is, okay? So we have 50 grand saving, and that guy might be on a regular salary of $5,000 a month, or 70, 80 grand a year. That dude could be a business owner, or it could be many of you recently just did a property development and banked $1 million in the cash, okay? And that dude has got 20 million, right? So the reason I want to draw these three stick figures, and the reason that in the first half of the content I talk about the project Porsche, is I really want to drive this point home in terms of the definition of being wealthy. Okay, so a lot of people think, that dude might think, the moment I have $1 million in account, I am rich, I'm wealthy. That guy might be saying, the moment I have 10 million in an account, I became wealthy. Okay? So this dude's issue is, I only have 50 grand in a bank account, and I'm earning 5 grand a month, and therefore, I can't live in an ultra luxury life. I can't afford a luxury car, I can't afford luxury holiday, that kind of stuff. And if I go to dining in this expensive restaurant, then I'll be super cautious on the price tag with each dish, right? So you follow me so far? So, and if this guy wants to get ahead in life, typically their strategy is to what? Save. And then when I see people, there's a two extreme. One is they've got limited amount, so might as well spend it all. So you don't have any saving, you live on a modest lifestyle, but you still be able to dine in with your friends and so forth. To the other extreme, people are a little bit more switched on. They're like, that's the 50 grand, I want to save, I want to put all of the money to investment. So what happens is people might think, I need $100,000 as a start capital to make something, to make a meaningful deal, right? And what this guy will do is, if you've got 5 grand a month, he will try to live below the means, okay? And try to live on a super tight budget in the hope to build this saving as quick as possible. So therefore you can roll all of your saving into investment, into business venture, okay? Which again, I admire people who have that determination, but that's not what I call a balanced and wealthy style, okay? Now this dude, you might think, for this guy, he might think, person B might be able to solve all these issues because all of a sudden you've just in and out of a deal that nets you $1 million in profit. You might be saying, yeah, finally, that's the first $1 million. But guess what? This guy might be thinking, finally, I make $1 million. Now, instead of buying a car that cost me $300,000, instead of buying other things, instead of spending 40, 50 grand on holiday, on shopping, whatsoever, my goal is to make another $1 million or make another $5 million. And that $1 million quickly became very important, a precious seed capital for me to scale my operation. Another way, these two might have the same mentality. See, $1 million doesn't solve your issues. Okay? Make sense so far? However, what I want to show you here is, no matter where you are in life, in terms of financially speaking, okay, I truly believe life offer you an abundance of experiences that surpass the amount of zero in your bank account. Okay, I want to discuss something called a balanced lifestyle and a way of living in a wealthy life. Whether you have 50 grand, whether you have $1 million, whether you have 10 million, if you drive things to the absolutely extreme, it is not what I call a success. Okay, the true success is really living in an ultra balanced lifestyle. So, it doesn't really matter how much money you're making right now. What matters is you are spending money, manage your money like a pro. Because here's the chicken egg issue. If you don't have money and you don't really learn the skill to manage your money effectively, you're not gonna go to the point or arrive to the point that where you want to be, and vice versa. Okay. So with that being said, when I was very young, one of the things my dad, when I was young, he taught me, he was like, son, whenever you do, make sure there is 2 rules to everything you do when it comes to money. One is, spend less than you earn, right? Very simple, okay? But look, it could be common sense, but common sense is not so common nowadays. All right, so spend less what you earn. And then the second rule is, make sure you always keep 30% as your net holding for whenever you earned. So if you earn $1 million, you better make sure after that, after all expenses, after all things, you have $300,000 left in the bank account for you to reinvest, all right? Which is bogging down to what I think the third principle is really reinvest what's left on a compound basis. When I was graduate from uni, I attended one of the courses with my friends. The guy's called T. Harv Eker. Now, for many of you who never heard of this guy, check this guy's materials. He wrote a book called A Millionaire, what's it called?
Mindset.
Millionaire Mindset, or whenever the book was talking about mindset, right? So, but the mindset is not what we're talking about here. What I will share with you is she dropping a valuable lesson. It's called the JAR system. It's kind of like money management system. It's a more advanced version of what my dad told me. And I want to share this with you, okay? And I think no matter where in your life, if you want to live in a balanced life, you will get some value out of it. Here's what this JAR system works, or money management system. This is how I manage my money, okay? So assuming, irrespective of how much money I make, all right? And the way is, if I have, that's your earning a year, and that's coming to you, okay? The way you're going to split it up is in percentage or different jars. So the first thing we call it as a necessity. Necessity basically covers what? Covers all of the rents, fuel, transportations, and basic meal. Means that's your basic lifestyle, you can survive, okay? And so that's the first thing, necessity. Necessity means that if you make $5,000 a month, right? What it says is necessity should not be no more than 55% of what you make. Okay, so if you make $1 million, the maximum you can spend on necessity is 55%. Okay, it is a true measure of whether you've been over-capitalizing on your current earning capacity. I have an employee right now that is making, I know it's about $7,000, $8,000. But she's spending about 70% of her income on necessities. And one of the biggest items, guess what, is rent, right? She's paying almost close to about $3,000 a month on a 1-bedroom apartment. Do you think it's overcapitalizing? And my advice to her is the first thing she want to tackle, to have more money in the saving, is to look at a balanced lifestyle. You can spend $3,000 on the rent, but if you want to spend $3,000 on your rent, you better increase your earning capacity. Otherwise, you're overcapitalizing it. Make sense? Okay, so that's necessity. That's covered basic needs. For most of people do here, if people go to extreme, what happens is they keep the necessity absolute to the minimum, like 20-30%. Again, when your basic needs are not met, you don't have the enough energy to tackle the business goals whatsoever. So again, 55%, okay? Next, once you've done that necessity, next thing is we tackle saving. So saving simply means cash, liquid cash in the bank. Sometimes you never know what accident is going to happen, and if you happen to have some accidents or ad hoc stuff that require you to access some cash, you better have some liquid cash, right? So if you have lots of properties and properties in liquid, you know what I'm saying? So in order to get money out, you either sell it or refinance it. So this is saving means cash saving. And cash saving simply means you need to have a 10%. So if you make $5,000, hopefully in your saving account, and you're not going to spend it, it's just, there, reserved for a rainy day, is for what? $500. Okay, you need to have a saving, okay? Once you have a necessity and you have the safety net as a saving. And for example, another way of looking at saving is if you got sacked tomorrow, how much money left in your bank account can sustain the next couple months of lifestyle. If you are living on a month-to-month basis, then you would have a tough time if you lost a job. Make sense? So that's what I mean by saving, all right? So next, once you've got saving, then we start looking at something I call a play jar. Again, who says we can't play? All right, as a human beings, there's a basic needs for a variety, right? We have a basic needs for certainty, but we also have needs for uncertainty. And as much as important to learn, study, working on your business, it's also important to catch up with your friends, go for a movie with your loved ones, maybe go for a short holiday, a weekend getaway, whatever it is, or buy yourself a bag. Ladies, I'm talking to you. The key thing is, if you want to buy yourself a bag, then you still have your play jar. That's the money supposed to be spent to indulge yourself, or what we call treat ourselves. Okay? And when you spend that money, you don't feel guilty because the money meant to spend. How much? 10%. Make sense? That's another 10%. It's very important. So you cover necessity, you have safety nets for saving, and man, there's a $500 if you're earning $5,000 a month. $500 you can either spend it regularly if you like the dinner or go for fine dining. Last week I was dining with my friends. We were in this really good Japanese restaurant. I am hopeless in ordering. So what I did, it was like, I sell to the waitress and says, hey, bring a bunch of stuff when everything is good. All right? And, I don't want to miss out anything, and I don't like ordering. I don't like making compromise. So I trust your judgment. Bring a bunch of stuff. The waitress looked at me and was like, do you have a budget? I was like, no, not budget. All right? So again, you can start working on that, right? And then once you've done that, then next, again, we need to grow our investment, right? So we call it investment jar, okay? Any investment, any business nature venture have a risk to it. In other words, a lot of people will put all of the money into saving, drive down the necessity. And when they put all of the eggs in one basket, and it's kind of like gambling and trying to betting on one investment opportunity, or betting everything on that course, on that guy, and eventually something doesn't work out. Look, you take the heavy hit, and then you never get back up again. Where my goal with my investment is, any investment I made, if I lost money, means lost everything on that investment, it doesn't affect my lifestyle. Okay? And hence why I don't use my saving to invest. I don't use my play jar to invest. Okay? And I don't use my investment to buy the Porsche. Follow me so far? And every investment I use to buy stocks, I will probably use that to buy real estate. I use that to developing a deal, whatsoever. Okay, that's 10%. Follow me so far? That's another 10%. Yeah. So that's investment jar, 10%. So it's money that you can afford to lose without affecting. You can see how the big pictures, whereby each dollar has its own distinctive uses in this unit jar system. I would advise you that you don't have one bank account, you have several. And start give the purpose to the money, okay? Instead of putting everything into one account. Next is, if you want to invest, don't you think it's important to learn some skill? Now, many of you think, oh yeah, look, I want to learn this course, but that cost me $5,000. I want to participate in that advance, that cost me $30,000. That's too expensive. I'm not sure whether I want to go or not. If you have that struggle, that's a wrong. I can almost assure you that you have a poor money management system in place. Last year, I've been spending close to $250, almost $250,000 on educating. So this is what I call education job. Okay. Last year, I've been spending almost $250,000 to educate myself. A lot of times, I've been starting to work with these heavy hitters in different industries like marketing, sales, business growth, and one-on-one arrangements, because I want to cut the chase and really get total attention and to immerse myself in their space to get the quickest return, the highest return, right? The only reason I'll be able to afford that is not because I make $1 million now, I dump a quarter to self-learning. Means that I've been making that much money and I'll be able to use 10% again of that to educate myself. Okay, so if you have $5 grand, right? If you make $5 grand a month in a 12 month, you might be able to get something close to $6 grand of worth of education funds in your account. And what you can do is in the next year, you might start to say, okay, which area in my life should I improve on? Should I improve a health? Can I get a health coach? Should I improve my business skills? Should I attend a course? That cost me $2 grand. Boom, it's within my reach. But the moment you spend that money, then you know what to do. Don't overstretch. Spend where you can spend, which is whenever it's left in education. You follow me so far? So education is very, very, very important, all right? Or if there is an event or there is a business membership you really want to get into, but it's too expensive, then maybe it costs you 20 grand, and if you can save $6,000 a year, just save 3 years. Got it? Or if you think it's too long, dial up that amount, which is what these two were helping you to dial up the amount. You know, you see that? It doesn't matter you make $1 million a month, or you make $10,000 a month, or you're making $10 million a month. I've saw people making more than that a month, right? The key is not how much you make. The key is how much you keep, and how much you'll be grow out of what you keep. And the magic in that is the percentage. If you're making $3 grand, live a modest life, but you are actually living a wealthy life, because wealth, the way it's a style of living. That style of living is defined by how you manage money effectively via this percentage. Okay, so if you're making $1 million a month, you can afford to buy a boat, you can afford to rent a private jet. That's fine, as long as you don't broken this golden ratio of the percentages. Follow me so far? But if you're making, let's say, 20 grand a month and you're spending 30% on play, then you're making compromises in other areas of your life. It makes sense? So do not make compromise. Don't overstretch. Always, living on a well-balanced life that really give you the safety, the certainty, give you the variety, give you the growth, give you the progress, and also, did you see? We're just 95%, right? Where's that 5%? Oh, 95? Yeah, 95. Where's the remaining 5%? Have a guess. There's one more need as a basic human beings. What's that? It's called contribution. So, the last jar is called what? Contributions. Okay? 5%. So if you make $5 grand, 5% is what? 250. So you've got 250 to donate. Choose a charity that you support for whatever the cause. Start donating. If you're banking $1,000 a month, you can still donate. You see what I'm saying here? Like, it's a style. If you bank $1 million a month, you just have ability to donate more, to influence more. That's contribution, man. So it has nothing to do with how much money you earn. Now people was like, I was a few weeks ago doing a Facebook campaign there for launching a new project we got, and I got smashed on the comments with a lot of people. It was like, how much you donate to a charity? I donate to the Australian guide dog. I think golden retrievers, that's particularly helping to guiding the vision impaired people, right? And I've been spending 2% on my income for that charity. And I've actually helping a few other schools back in China that consume another 3 to 4% of my current earnings per annum to build some schools, facilitate some process like the books and everything, right? So that's what I'm doing in contribution thing. And again, if you're making $5 grand or if I'm making $1 million a month, our contribution, what I consider is the same thing, because it's not a money matters, it's a percentage matters. You got to donate the same amount to supporting the charity. The only difference is the absolute dollar amount, but the percentage is the same thing. You're sacrificing the same amount of your life for charity. You follow me so far? Now, next time if your wife want a bag, if you two planning for a holiday, and if you make $500 deposit in your play jar, did you see you just have another $6,000 towards the end of the year to be spent on holidays? You follow me? So if that's you, you would have what? $6,000 you can spend as one chunk towards the end of the year for Christmas, whatever, okay? You can spend that on, let's say, you probably have $6,000 which should cover the flights and also accommodations for a week, I think, okay? You have $6,000 in your savings, save it for a rainy day. Next time something happened to your job or something happened to your income, man, at least you have a month or two buffer in there, okay? You have some necessity, you've accumulated $6,000 worth of investment fund. Can I do much with it? Maybe, maybe not. Who fucking cares? It's $6,000 you don't have. Keep it there. Because tomorrow, if there's an opportunity, it's allow you to invest with limited capital like $6,000. You can chip in that. And knowing for sure, if shit happens, you can still have holidays. You can still live in that apartment, and you have the safety net. You follow me so far? And you might have $6,000 worth of education funds. You can attend one course or two, improve certain area of your life, which further going to increase the skill of investment, which eventually going to increase the skill of what? Increase that backboard. You follow me so far? And not only that, what's the point of making money and without helping others? And one thing that if you business for long, you will realize that every single time, if I'm struggling with my business, I'm just start giving. Life is quite interesting that, core weird or whatever, right? I'm not really a spiritual guy, but I truly believe there is a higher purpose out there whereby if you do good to other people, the life will reward you in multiple times in terms of the contribution. And especially if you're struggling financially or whenever or job-wise, start contribute. If you don't have money, let's say if you make zero, you can still contribute your time. You know what I'm saying? There's a many different forms of contribution. And that way, you can enjoy yourself, you can buy a car, depends how much money you make. And you still not be able to, and you're still not just a rich, prick or tight ass. You can be a compassion, you can be energetic, you can still buy toys, and your business skill is continuously expand because you keep educating yourself, and then which further increase the amount of money you're investing, compounding year on year. Did you see knowledge-wise you're compounding, contribution-wise you're compounding, and the safety net-wise you're compounding, and the amount of enrichment you can get from lifeless experience. Man, start doing that. So anyway, hopefully, I don't rambling too long, but I think really want to get you this piece. This is what I call living in the zone. Have nothing to do with money in the bank, have nothing to do with the amount of money you're earning. What I have to do is to do with the habits, to do with money management skills, and to do with how you perceive yourself, and to do with how to have a truly well balanced life. Okay, so having a business, it's not an excuse for you to sacrifice your family time. Hear me very, very clearly, and vice versa. Okay, so hopefully this piece adds some value. I know it's nothing to do with property, but man, it's have everything to do with it. Okay, so anyway, hope you enjoy this content, and I'm looking forward to talk to you next time. As always, before I go, if you want to receive more of this content, in particularly you're interested to explore how to get ahead in your life by learning the critical skill of property investment / development, I've got a private Facebook group whereby I will be drip feeding content like this on a regular basis, which will be recorded live per week. Okay, so it's completely on cam. It's just Austin holding little camera with me when I'm doing things. It could be collecting cars, could be doing deals, whatever it is. Okay, so if you like this content, you can join that by clicking the link or just heading to prayerfb.com, prerfb.com. Alternatively, you can just type the URL in the comment box. That will be really, really helpful. Should you have any more questions, feel free to drop in a question in the comments, and I'm happy to answer that for you. Once again, if you're really interested to receive more of this info, click the link and head to priyafb.com, and I'm looking forward to work with you and share some value with you on a more frequent basis. Okay.